It was years and years and years later. Now I did a study in Acts on Saul Tarsus. And I can't find anywhere until his last years that he talked about that Damascus experience. Now maybe he did, but there is not, Luke didn't mention it. In the book of Acts, there's no record there that Saul was coming and saying, oh, Jesus appeared to me in the way. Now I think he told the disciples about that. Peter, James, and he went to Jerusalem, and he probably told them about it. But when his sermons in the churches, there's no record he said, I'm here because Jesus appeared to me and I want to... No, he would always go to the Old Testament record. So what the Lord impressed me to do, Dale, he said, you have to go and study and prove from the scriptures that what the wrath of God is. I have revealed to you with the flash in your mind, now I've spoken to you, direct revelation. So you know that this is true because I've spoken to you about this. And I'd heard his voice before when I was coming back from the station there in May. April and May, I forget, it was one of those 2 months in 1970 that I was trying to think of a name for the broadcast. I called it The Voice of Truth in another station. I was on just one station in El Campo, but I couldn't think of a name. I was thinking so hard I got a headache. And finally, the Lord spoke to me and said, God's last call. So it was divine revelation. So I'd heard the voice of the Lord before. And you know, you hear different things, you hear voices in your mind, you think, and you don't really take it seriously. But now, today, I hear the Shekinah's voice talking to me all the time. Anyway, Dale, it was just, I began to study, and that was in July 18th. And here the Lord opened up to August. It was August 6th or 8th, and then 2 times in August I gave a talk on the wrath of God. So he already had that planned out, that I would speak in McMinnville, Oregon about this new topic. So I studied to get, I knew the text. I had read the Bible too, as I said, 8 times, New Testament, Psalms.
So you got this spiritual understanding that the true God does not hurt or kill or destroy people.
Yeah, it was a direct revelation. And I'll tell you something else. Every single person, you can go through Samuel, you can go Moses, Samuel, all the judges, all the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah. They got their start in their ministry by direct revelation. Direct revelation. That's the way it works. So anyway, I've been reticent. I've been a little bit hesitant to talk about how the Lord speaks to me and I had dreams last few years. I never did. I had dreams in the past, but I never wrote them down, forgot them. But lately, the last 2, 3 years, I've been having some very important, powerful dreams about the 144,000 and stuff like that. And later in another video, I can read that to you. But anyway, Dale, I've been talking so much. Tell me about your experience.
Well, I have read your books and your articles for many, many years. I began back in the mid-1980s when I got converted and became a believer and follower of Jesus Christ. Reading the Bible, going to church, getting baptized, finding Pastor Mike's newsletters, his book, Into the Father's Heart, and reading his books, and always comparing with the Bible, because I want my belief and my religion and my faith to be based on the Bible. And so I've studied this out also for many years. And the way I have understood this idea that God does not hurt, kill, or destroy people, first by the life of Christ, Jesus didn't hurt or kill people. And secondly, as far as the Old Testament scenarios where it says God said this and God did that, what I've come to realize is that the fallen angels, Satan and his angels, the wicked demons, the devils and angels, the evil angels, they are the ones involved in destruction and death and killing people. And all they need and wait for is divine permission. God, the true God, has to give permission for Satan and the angels to be able to go past that line, that boundary line of protection, to strike people down and hurt people and cause destruction. If they don't have that protection, they can't do it. And the way they get that legal protection, or legal permission to do that act of destruction, is by people being idolaters, worshiping false idols, is saying in their mind and heart, I don't want you, God, get out of my life. I don't want to go to church. I don't want to live right. I want to do my own thing, live in the pleasures of sin for a season. That kind of an attitude gives the enemy permission to hurt and kill and destroy. So it's very important to have a humble attitude toward the true God, being humble and obedient to His Word. And that gives us divine shelter and protection from the storms of life. And it gives us God's blessing in our lives.
That's right. Well, thank you, Dale, for that story. You told me how you first got a hold of God's Last School newspaper. You're walking down the railroad track with your brother.
Oh, yes.
And you went into that little car.
Well, I met an older Adventist couple, and they had told me about the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which I had never heard about that before. And that Saturday was the seventh-day Sabbath, and the Pope was the Antichrist, and the Seventh-day Adventist was a true church, kind of like that. So I read, and then he gave me some books to read. We had prayer together, and he also gave me Pastor Mike's newsletters and books. And so I read all of this, and that's how I kind of got to understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would have found a little caboose car, or what was it called? A railroad car?
Mm-hmm.
Was it an abandoned? Was it a caboose?
Well, years ago, my brothers and I, we lived in a small town. We like to search out old buildings that were abandoned, and we found this property with an old train car on it, an old garage building, and we found some old books, including a little New Testament Bible. And years later, after I become a Christian, my brother asked me to return this New Testament Bible to who it belonged to. It said presented to Marvin Orwig. So I looked his name up in the phone book. It was a small town, maybe 8,000 people. And so I found his name, and I gave him a call, talked to his wife. He said, we had this New Testament Bible, we wanted to return it. She said, sure, come on over. This is where we live. So we walked across town, and the same property was there, and now they had a mobile home park there. And they used to live in the country, now they live in town. So we talked with them, Marvin and Vivian Orwig, and they gave us a little Bible study and had prayer with us and gave us some books to read and invited us to go to church with them on the Sabbath. And so I did that. I started going to church on Saturdays, and I began talking with my Sunday keeping pastor about why do we go to church on Sunday when the Bible says the seventh day is the Sabbath. And so I went through about 3 months of studying out the Sabbath versus Sunday question.
He gave you some of my papers.
Yeah, Marvin Orwig, yeah, he gave me some of your books and papers, yeah.
Okay, well, Dale, in other words, it wasn't the same day you found the Bible stuff that you went. You went later.
Years later.
Years later?
Years later.
There's God's perfect timing. Isn't that amazing? How old were you then?
I had graduated from high school about 1983, 84, when I first found out about it.
God's perfect timing. That's incredible. I want to read something here from Desire of Ages. In every age there is given to men their day of light and privilege, a probationary time in which they may become reconciled to God. But there is a limit to this grace. Mercy may plead for years and be slighted and rejected. But there comes a time when mercy makes her last plea. Notice that, her, feminine.
Oh, wow.
Mercy, the angel of mercy is the female.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Makes her last plea. The heart becomes so hardened that it ceases to respond to the Spirit of God. Then the sweet winning voice entreats the sinner no longer, and reproofs and warnings cease. Now, I want to talk about this a little more, and the 7 levels of the character of God. The feminine image of God is number 6, and that was the most difficult for me. Level 4 was hard too. That's universal restoration, which I know Dale likes to talk about. That was hard for you also. But there's a lady, and I'll just share with you what happened. Because the Lord knows at what time we are ready for a new understanding. For you like Saul of Tarsus going down the road, Damascus Road. And the Lord said, okay, son, you can reveal yourself to this man at that time. So there's a perfect timing when God is going to contact you. And that's what that is talking about here. That the angel of mercy will plead for years. And you can reject, and if you keep rejecting, as King Saul did, then you will not hear the voice anymore. And that's when you've sinned away your day of grace. Anyway, I had heard every every level of the character of God. And I'll just go through them real quick here. Level number 1, God does not kill. And that's from a book, what's in the life of Jesus, John 10 and verse 10. I am the good shepherd, and so forth like that. Level number 1 is God has never hurt or killed anybody. God destroys no man. Christ Object Lessons, page 84. And then we have the second level, animal sacrifice. And that wasn't so hard. That was pretty easy to realize from the Bible that God never commanded any animals to be killed. Animal lovers should understand and appreciate that. Okay, level number 3 is the 2 Lords. We talk about God and Lord. Those are titles. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. The word Lord, the noun Lord, and the noun God, those are titles, like president, director. That's not God's name. God's name is YHWH, Yahweh. Okay, we'll go into that a little more. It's a family involved in this, and it's very important because the name of the Father's family name, is going to be inscribed in the foreheads of the 144,000. Okay, so I was going along and I knew levels 1, 2, and 3, and even 4, universal restoration. That was a hard one for me because I hated Lucifer and I hated him intensely because I blamed him for everything. Of course, it is true. He's the first rebel and he has led the human race. But the human race has chosen to listen to him up until this moment. Anyway, so he's had a lot of helpers along with these evil angels. Number 5 is the harvest. Barley, wheat, and grape. We'll talk about that later. Come to the number 6, the feminine image of God. Now, a young man named Rosendo, he built a website 14 years ago, year 2000. That's a long story. He still does it today. It's amazing. I don't do anything myself. I mean, almost everything I do, somebody else asks me to do it. It's like, and the Lord just says, be patient, be quiet, just stay right here. And when I want you to do something, you will know. Because I was always busy going here and there, calling people, trying to get a place, to give a talk. I got this new idea. I got this new truth. I'm so excited about it, Lord. The Lord says, hold on, relax. There'll be a time when you can tell it. It's like Peter.
You've been through some training.
Patience. Patience, that's what we need. It's like Peter. In chapter 16 of Matthew, Jesus said, okay, tell me, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? First he said, what do you think? Who am I? I'm going to back up. He said, who do men say that I am? Oh, you're Jeremiah, or you're one of the prophets, come back to life, blah, 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 so forth. Okay. So then Jesus says, well, what about you? Who do you think I am? Peter, the spokesman, always, piping up, and he said, you are the Messiah. You're the true Son of God. And Jesus said, yes, you're right, Peter. And he gave him a compliment for that. That's in Matthew 16. And then Peter must have been so happy, Dale. Oh, wow, this is so great. I got it right.
I'm really in touch with God. I've got a strong connection.
And I'm going to go out and tell everybody who Jesus is. And then Jesus says, but don't tell anybody. What I just told you, I don't want you to talk about it. I don't want you to tell anybody. And Peter must have said, oh, wow. I finally got something right. I didn't get rebuked. He's always telling us what we're saying and doing that we shouldn't be doing, saying, helping us to know the right from the wrong way of doing it.
And just a little later, Jesus talked about being betrayed to the Gentiles and being crucified.
Yeah.
And Peter says, far be that from you, Lord. Don't let that happen to you. No way.
It's in Matthew 16.
And then Jesus turned and rebuked him and said, get you behind me, Satan.
And it
must have been a shock to Peter.
That's right. And last part of Matthew 16 there, and into 17, was going up the mountain with Peter, James, and John, the Mount of Transfiguration. And just think how Peter, James, and John were coming down behind. Boy, just wait, we tell the other disciples about this,
Oh, yeah.
And then Jesus said, do not tell anybody about what had just happened up there until the Son of Man is risen. And what do you think? They think, oh, wow. This is the greatest proof Jesus is the Messiah. Because they knew the other disciples had some doubts. Because they were waiting for him to announce him. I am the Messiah. Go to the temple, take over the nation, form an army, and, you know, destroy the Romans and so forth. Okay, so he never did that. And so they thought, now it's time. And he said, no, don't talk about this. So, anyway, this is, I give you this as a background because the Lord was ready for me to understand the feminine image of God, which I was resisting. Because a lady called me up one day from Philadelphia area, and she says, Pastor Mike, I want to order a book, and so forth. I get your paper. I said, okay, and her name was Terry. And I said, what book do you want? She told me. She says, oh, by the way, I see you're writing about the 144,000. I said, yes, I am. I'm doing a research on that because Sister White said we must strive with all of our might to be among the 144,000. So she says, well, Mike, I want to tell you something. You're not going to be among the 144,000. That's what she told me. You're not going to be among that group. Well, I had talked to her a few times before, and she's very smart. And so we'd get in a discussion, and she'd tell me something that I didn't know. And I would say, well, how do you know that? I don't think that's right. Well, yes, it is, and here's the reason. And you know, she was always right. She would always prove to me that she was right. Well, that kind of hurt my feelings, my pride. Because here I am, I'm a pastor, I'm supposed to know all the answers. And the Lord spoke to me, God's last call, and you know, I'm going along, and I have this pride. So anyway, I said, well, I'll talk to you about it later. I didn't want to talk to her anymore that day. A week later, she calls again. Okay, I want to order another book. Oh, by the way, I told you, Mike, that you're not going to be among the 144,000. I said, yes, I remember that, Terry. I remember you told me that. And she said, well, okay. I asked her, I said, why do you say that? She says, well, you're barley. You're not wheat, you're barley. I said, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. She says, you go ahead. Aliyah, you're going to go ahead.
Like the first fruits in a
The
harvest cycle?
Yeah, the first of the first. There's a first fruits. 144,000 is first fruits. But there's a first of the first fruits. You see, the barley is a one-day affair. It's the least of all the grains. It has really no... People don't think much of barley. Wheat is the main thing, you see. And the barley is done in just one day. But when that barley comes, when it's time to reap the barley, they know that's the beginning of the harvest. Now you go to the book of Ruth, and it talks about Ruth stayed through the barley and the wheat harvest. Okay. And then the last part is the grape harvest. Barley, wheat, and grape. 3 angels' messages, Revelation 14. 3 messages, 3 grains. Each grain represents a part of the harvest. Okay, we go through that later. Anyway, she told me about this. And so I said, give me an example of the barley. You're talking about barley. I didn't have a clue to what she was talking about. But I listened to her because she's the smartest woman I ever talked to. I have to give her credit for that. The most intelligent lady. I never met her in person. She sent me pictures of herself. When she was young, she was a very beautiful woman. Well, she's in her 80s now and not too good of health. You should pray for her. But anyway, I said, give me an example of the barley. She said, Gideon is barley. Ruth is barley. I said, okay. So I went and studied everything I could on Gideon from Judges 6, 7, and 8. And I read Patriarchs and Prophets, and I understood that. Okay, I got through that, level 5. But then she's always giving me something that throws me for a loop, something I'm not expecting. And that's the way the Lord operates. We'll go along and we think we're on the right road, we're doing the right thing.
Finally got it all together.
Yeah, boy, I'm going down this road, man. I am Superman theologian, you know. You know, I got the truth. Just listen to me, folks. I'll tell you, send me a donation because I got it all together here. You can listen to them on the radio
Oh, yeah,
and TV. Yeah, we got the truth. Okay, so that's the way I was. And